Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Racing House. My name is Sakki, and you're joining us again for a live stream. We're joined by Adam. How are you, Adam?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Very good. It's been a long day,
Good.
but after that race yesterday, feeling very energized. Like, obviously, we're talking about the Sakhir Grand Prix, which was, yeah, everything. Everyone was super excited to see some new drivers on the grid. What did you make of the race? I'm going to start off with how you felt before, during, and then after. So
Well,
talk me through.
we were obviously talking through the whole process, weren't we?
Yeah.
Before the race, I was feeling quietly optimistic. During the race, it was just an absolute roller coaster, wasn't it? Like, I think if you could play any of the voice notes that I sent to you, and that would be the mood.
Yeah.
I think you could tell what lap it would be from my mood in the voice note. And then just afterwards, just disappointment really for George. Like it's just
Yeah.
heartbreaking. But then mixed feelings as well with everything else that happened. So yeah, what did you think to it?
Yeah, that might be a long question to answer. Hello to everyone watching in the live chats from Tetrick Henry watching from Jamaica. Thank you for commenting. Leave the comments down in the comment section. If you've got any questions for either of us, let us both know. Make sure you like this video. It really helps us get out to more people. Before the race, I don't think I've been that excited for a race in a long time. And for that track, it's not really one that's too exciting or one that you'd necessarily think at first. Yeah, this is one that you're going to be looking forward to, or it's going to be a juicy race. And then during the race, that start was just perfect, so perfect for George. Like I really wanted him to show what he's capable of, and he did. He did during the race. Obviously, we'll go into that a little bit more detail about what happened during the race, and then after is a bit bittersweet because I was so happy that Sergio managed to pull it out of the bag and managed to come from last all the way to first place, which is just insane. Yeah, it's bittersweet, sad for George, but he'll get many more opportunities in the top seat, I imagine, after doing what he did during that race. Um, do you think that George could have done anything differently? Can you take this
Not
off?
really. I think his pace was generally very good. He seemed to be managing the tyres well.
Mm,
Um, Obviously, like you say, start, which a few people have had doubts over his starts, and he was obviously starting on that dirtier side of the track as well. Made
yeah.
no difference. He led into the first corner and looked very comfortable. Like straight away, within half a lap, he'd pulled out that big lead before the safety car came out. So yeah, I think in terms of the things that he could control, like his controllables, I think he did fantastically. Like even after the issues with tyres and things like that, he came back and was about to challenge Checo again for the lead when he had that puncture.
Mm,
And then when he had the softs on, he was carving through the field, and I think he went from something like 15th to ninth on those softs in just a few laps. So I think performance-wise, it was an elite performance. It was quality, just absolute quality. Considering he's 22, is he? It's just goes to show. I know, like obviously he's in the Mercedes, and that helps, but so was Bottas, and we didn't see the same out of him.
yeah, I think
Um,
it goes a lot. The fact that he's managed to step into a car that doesn't fit him, shoes that don't fit him. He may have driven the car before or similar to the car before. I think it's the first time actually this weekend, in this version, this year's version. But to do that, qualify where he did, finish the race or carry out drive during that race in the way that he did, I think is just flawless. Flawless performance from him. Like you said, he just didn't have the rub of the green. Like everything that could go wrong did go wrong. Mercedes just weren't very Mercedes. Um, and like this happens every so often with Mercedes. Every several races, there's a little jolt for them to give them a little reminder that it's not a copy and paste job. It's not ever that easy for them. Well, it is easy for them in the grand scheme of things, but there's always a little reminder every few races that they need to refocus because how do you even do that? How do you get the tires mixed up like that? I know Toto's come out and explained it, but
yeah, I suppose it depends if you believe it or not. But I think think the issue was for anyone that's not seen it or not caught up with it. Toto said that there was a radio communications issue between the race engineers and the pit crews. So some of them did get the message that George's tyres needed to come out first and then Valtteri's, and some of them didn't get the message, which is why you saw them between pit stops suddenly scrambling for tyres, and then you had an engineer come out. But whether you believe that or whether you don't believe that, it's fair enough. But it did remind me of Hockenheim when they had that issue in Germany.
It does remind me of that as well, and
Yeah.
I still don't understand how they could make that such a mistake, because Mercedes rules are whoever's the leading driver comes in first. So how could you make that mistake?
Yeah, I was just about to say that as
How?
well. Yeah,
You know that George has to come in first according to the rules, unless they were just going to chuck the rules out the window and allow Bottas to try the undercut. It is very, very peculiar. But let us know what you think down in the comments. We've got a comment from Time to Choose. We'll get to your comment about iLot a little bit later, Tetrick. So it's a little bit off piece, but we'll get back to it. So how would it benefit Mercedes to replace Bottas while Lewis is still there when they're nailed on for the 8th championship double? What upside is there? Sure, George is good, but they're winning. Yeah, I think that's the general. I think that's the general opinion or the consensus, that why would you upset the apple cart when you know what you're going to get from Bottas? Consistency. You know what you're going to get from Hamilton. George has done extremely well in this race, but it doesn't guarantee consistency. It's a one-off. Imagine the adrenaline going through George's body before the race, during the race. We definitely know that it was a tough time after the race, but there's no guarantee that he can repeat that consistently throughout the course of the year. He's done it in the junior series, of course, but there's no guarantee that he can perform at that level consistently, which is the unknown. For Mercedes, you're going to try and play it safe, aren't you? And who knows what kind of agreements they've come to. Who knows, Lewis may have asked the team to make him the number one driver. Who knows? We'll never know these kind of things. What do you think about it?
see, I would go the other way. Like when there's been big moments this season, Bottas hasn't capitalised, and he's not taken the opportunities that he's had. So Monza is an example. I know he had overheating issues with the car, but
Yeah.
and then there's been a few times, and this weekend included. He qualified on pole, so obviously he had the most beneficial position. Didn't get away well. Immediately out of turn 2, he had that big moment coming out of turn 2. And see, I don't know if he's like getting to a time where he's not in his prime anymore, if there's something in his head. But we were talking about it during the race, weren't we? That he'd bottled it, and I think I called him Bottle Job Bottas through the race.
Oh my gosh, I was disappointed with Bottas, to be honest.
Yeah,
Very
and
disappointed with Bottas.
Yeah, and I think if you look at George's qualifying performances, his pace is consistent, and he's consistent across all circuits. I mean, I know he's not up against the greatest competition in terms of his teammates, but to be so close to Bottas, 0.025 or 6 or whatever it was in qualifying, and like you said, in shoes too small, in a car that doesn't fit him, it's not designed for him, it's designed for Lewis. To do all that stuff last minute, not really know what the buttons are on the steering wheel, which I think is crazy, that he's put in such like consistently good performances. He's been at the top of the timing charts all weekend.
Yeah.
I think if I was Toto, I would be thinking I want to pass the baton sooner rather than later. And if I can get George in there next to Lewis over the next couple of seasons, you're looking at potentially a decade of dominance if you can hand that seat over to Russell and that number 1 spot over to Russell. Because I don't know if Bottas has got what it takes to be a world champion.
I think that's a bold statement. I would say confidently, I don't think he has got what it takes. He's got the car. He's got the car to do it, but when it comes to the crunch time, when it comes to beating his teammate with that best car, the equal equipment, I just don't think he's got what it takes. Like, I don't think he's got the natural fighting instinct to make sure he's looking after his tyres. That's one thing I always hear, like commentators, the guys that know what they're talking about, they always bang on about how well Lewis looks after his tyres. And they were doing the same yesterday about Russell. And I was like, oh, he's got it. He's just got it. Whereas Bottas, I don't think he's as instinctive as these two drivers. So I definitely get your point about wanting to set them up for the next few years into the new generation. I just think it's a lot more complicated than that. But I think it is a bit terminal for Bottas because you can't have that. You can't have that. First race for George, and Russell had him in his pocket, like he well and truly owned him, like without a question of a doubt. Bottas on paper beat him, so factually Bottas beat him. but someone in one of my group chats mentioned the fact that everyone knows Russell literally wiped the floor with him. So it's a bit weird one because I feel bad for Bottas because I was willing. I wanted him to show that he was better than Russell on that one-off occasion. I know it's a one-off, but this was his time, and he bottled it.
Yeah,
he bottled it.
Name's right. The name's right.
He did. Unfortunately,
as well, there was moments as well in the race. I think there was a radio message, and George had been managing the gap with Bottas and just maintaining his race pace and just gradually setting quicker and quicker times. And there was a message on the radio, and George said, "Let me know when you want me to push." And that for me is just like that's like he's not even at his maximum. He's not desperately trying to cling onto the lead. He's managing the race.
Yeah.
He's managing his pace, managing his tyres. He's comfortable in that spot already. And like you could hear not his nerves, but he wanted that reassurance a few times through the radio. But of course he did. Like he's 22, leading a Grand Prix when he's used to battling back in Williams. So he needed Bono to kind of take the lead a little bit and tell him what buttons to press on the steering wheel.
Yeah.
But when it came just down to driving the car and his pace and his consistency, he was there and he drove excellently.
Yeah, I agree with you. We've got some comments there from Fabio Cunha. George is growing and he has been showing a rather consistent drive in Williams, which I agree with. Mercedes is another game, but Russell is really mature and he can handle it. That is what he showed this weekend. Another comment from Fabio. Bottas has been growing some frustration for being Lewis's teammate. Could that be affecting his drive? Thank you for those comments. Keep them coming in. Anybody who's watching, hit the like button to show us some support. I can only imagine what it's like for Bottas being Lewis's teammate, knowing that you're just coming back every year with a new beard, new facial hair, reinventing yourself. Bottas 4.0 pending. It must be so frustrating, and I think he's mentally, Bottas is gone. Like I genuinely think that bit of resistance that he had where he was really close to Lewis at one point, and Lewis just showed everybody what he's about and that he's still got it, and to see that as a teammate, knowing that you're so close, I think that it's got to Bottas, and he's not able to pick it back up. He's not able. Maybe if he goes away at the end of the year, at the end of of it all, like I need to remember that the season's over. So it's going to be hard for him to maintain that level of motivation. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I can see your point. From a competitive point of view, though, you would think any opportunity he gets to just be like, look, I'm still here. Like I'm still a serious threat. You would want to take that chance, and you'd want to take that opportunity. Maybe he's trying too hard. Maybe he's putting too much pressure on himself. But the other thing as well is, you look at the top few teams on the grid now, and they're already preparing for that next generation. So you look at Red Bull with Max, you look at McLaren with Norris, you look at Ferrari with Leclerc and Sainz, you look at AlphaTauri with Gasly. All of these upper tier teams have already put that next man up. They've already got that next guy who's going to lead that generation. Mercedes haven't done that yet because obviously Lewis is in a league of his own. But the closer and closer Lewis gets to the end of his career, Mercedes need to put that guy in and say, right, okay, we're setting our stall out. This is the one that's going to lead us on. And everyone obviously thinks that George is going to take that spot in 2022. But you look at those other drivers, they're already there. Like Max has had how many years at Red Bull? Leclerc has been at Ferrari a little while now. Lando's starting to get his feet really under the table at McLaren, even.
Yeah.
Like these drivers are getting to know their engineers, are getting to know their processes, they're improving consistently. And Russell, like, I think he's proven himself at Williams to a point where he's shown that he's very competitive and that he can compete with cars that are a little bit quicker than him. And he showed at Sakhir that he's at that level where he can do the business, and he can quite easily do the business. The way he was cutting through cars after his stops, he was making it look very, very simple.
Yeah, I think we need to emphasize that point.
Yeah.
Like the way he came back after his pit stop. I can't remember, was it 11th or 13th place? I can't remember.
Yeah.
But it was quite far back, pretty much near at the back of the grid. And he fought his way through to catch up with his teammate right at the end.
Yeah. I think when he came out on the softs, he came out in 15th, and then he finished. But yeah, even when he had to pit for the mediums, and he came out and I think he was 5th or something like that. The way he just got through those cars, he was driving angry, and he was driving like, right, see it. You're going to see it now.
I definitely got that sense. I definitely got the anger coming out of the car, and I was like, yes, that's what I need from you, Bottas. Because with Bottas,
but he doesn't do that.
Yeah, but we need to remember that Bottas got screwed over with the pit stops as well, and he had those dead tyres. But something tells me that a driver with more of an instinct about him would have made it work with that car.
Yeah.
With the car that you've got, you would have made it. Someone with more of an instinct would have made it worse. Thank you, Fabio, for confirming it was 15th. Time to choose. Thoughts on the various journalists diminishing Lewis and his COVID diagnosis, wishing he would sit out Abu Dhabi, basically saying that F1 is better without him, also increasing Mercedes' leverage in terms of their negotiation. I'm not sure which outlets you're referring to. Just let us know in the comments who's basically been saying that. What do you think? It's a bit of a strange one.
I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting for leverage, because Toto can say to Lewis now, look, George has shown that he's got a bit of something this weekend.
Yeah.
As for Lewis's absence, I think anytime you take away that kind of top dog, and there's the next tier that are fighting for those positions, I think it's interesting. It always is.
Yeah, it is. It does add more excitement to it, but I know this isn't what I'm saying is not purely down to Lewis's absence, but maybe him not being there, the team lost a bit of that drive and that kind of always questioning everything, always questioning that a little bit of focus that Lewis provides, demanding the best, which you don't necessarily get from Bottas. You don't ever hear Bottas say, no, I'm staying out. I'm going to make these tyres last longer, basically ignoring the strategy team. And with Russell, he's so green to the team and just to the sport in general. Like, he doesn't really have that confidence, which is normal. Like, he's still young. He doesn't have the confidence to say, no, we're going to do this, and that. That air of confidence that comes from Lewis, it's very hard to replicate. There's very few drivers that have the confidence to just tell their team, no, I'm going to ignore you. I'm just going to stay out longer. Probably a Max Verstappen, maybe. Charles, Sebastian, Kimi. Well, Danny, maybe. I've never really heard him do that though. But you can imagine it's the guys that have got the years under the belt and the championships. Like, I can imagine Kimi doing that easily, Seb doing it. So yeah, it is an interesting one. Keep the comments coming in, guys. If you've got any questions, we'll try and answer them best we can. Who's your driver of the day?
Are you asking my head or my heart?
Yeah, give us two answers: your head and your heart. Who's your driver of the day?
Well, heart is George, isn't it? Obviously.
Yeah.
You know how I feel about that. I wish you could put those.
Tell us. How do you feel about it?
it's just heartbreaking, isn't it? Like it's
Oh
just
yeah.
so hard. Like honestly, I was just down all the Sunday night as a result because we
Oh,
both watched the race live, and I I went from basically jumping up and down, like thinking that we were seeing like the birth of a legend,
mm,
to just dumbfounded, just heartbroken at what happened. It's so unlucky, like just
yes.
so unlucky at every turn.
Yeah.
But head says Perez because,
Yeah.
like you say, he was in last position at the end of lap one, switched over his tyres, just put an absolute worldie of a performance in,
Yeah.
and did a great job, absolutely great job.
Yeah. I
And
really.
he's another one. He's another one. Sorry, but you see him. He's on a set of tyres, and he's got his strategy, and he's like, right, I'm going to overtake all of you, and he just did.
Absolute
He just
beast.
went through everyone.
Yeah. Beast mode. Beast mode. For me, like you said, I'm going to start off with George. It was very sad to watch that happen. I think it meant so much more to him because obviously he's come into the sport. He's got his seat, secured his seat with Williams. He's got the support of Mercedes in some form, but he's watching people who he used to beat and compete against in the junior series win races, get points, podiums, and it must be so hard for him to do that, knowing that he is just as good as all these drivers, if not better than the majority of them. Like it must be so hard for him. So that's why I think it probably hit him really tough because
Yeah,
obviously he's used to winning and he's been in the Williams team and they're just nowhere near even getting a point. They're just nowhere on the grid. So for him to get that opportunity, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to go from Williams to Mercedes. No one would have predicted that. So it must have been so hard to take. He would be my second choice as driver of the day. I think I was set on Checo. As soon as he kind of got sent to the back and then he stormed his way through the grid. Um, I can't remember what position it was. It might have been fourth. As soon as he got up to fourth, I was like, yeah, sorry, Checo, driver of the day. It was already decided in my head, and I think at this point, Russell was still leading the race. So he had a good start, but he'd not done all the overtaking twice. Um, but it still hasn't really swayed me. I think that drive from Checo, he got a bit lucky in terms of very lucky in terms of what happened to George and Bottas, but Checo was just flawless. He could have given Charles a little bit more room, but he had the
yeah,
race in line. That was the only kind of down thing about his race, the fact that he was involved in that incident, but it's not really his fault. I just think Checo's drive, given the circumstance as well, the fact that he's about to lose his seat for next year, he doesn't have a seat, guys. I just, I think it just symbolises so much more than George's race. I know it's a monumental moment for George, but the fact that Checo doesn't have a seat and he's just gone out there, performed like that, and won the race, it's very hard for me to give it to George. I know that Checo's got the race win, so he should be happy with that. There's plenty of tears. Um, it might be a good idea to give it to George just to cheer him up a little bit. But for me,
out.
yeah, yeah, it does. It would balance it out. But I think I'm just set on Checo Perez.
You
As,
to be fair, you were saying Checo like midway through the race,
yeah,
so
I
you
don't.
stuck to your guns.
I don't think anything could have actually. It probably was something that could have distracted me or taken me away from nominating him and giving it to him. But I just think Checo's performance, given the circumstance, he's like driving for his career, and I really do
Yeah.
hope that Red Bull sign him up. I really do. What do you think they'll go for him? What do you think, guys? Do you think Red Bull will go for Sergio Perez or Alex Albon? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, I think he's certainly not hurt his cause, has he?
Mm,
With the performance like that and the way that like he did go around Albon and then leave him. He overtook him and then left him.
yeah,
So the performances are speaking for themselves. Like there's a few moments through the year, like Imola, when Albon spun, and this weekend where Checo's gone past him and then gone off to win the race. I think the general consensus is that Albon is he's a good person. He's quick. He has his moments. He's brave, but he just doesn't have the consistency. And at the minute, he's not in the right spot for his point in his career at the minute. I think it does kind of shine a light on Red Bull's philosophy of promoting young drivers that are very young and maybe not ready, because we've seen with Gasly, as he's gone back down, he's excelled. So it's quite possible that we'll see the same with Albon, although Christian Horner's said that he's either Red Bull or not a drive next year.
The bench,
which makes you think that Tsunoda is going to be confirmed at AlphaTauri.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But I think logic, and if you look at it objectively, Checo's got to be in that seat. But when you look at the tie connections to Red Bull and Alex Albon, the fact that it's another Red Bull driver that they would have kind of taken out of that spot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of politics and there's a lot of background stuff behind it. But from just sheer race performance, Checo's an obvious choice for me.
Yeah, I don't know in terms of the politics whether they'll allow it to happen. I think that tie connection is big. Having that tie driver with a tie co-owner of Red Bull is huge. And I don't know whether Max would be too happy having Checo there as a teammate. I don't know. Max says that he just wants to go racing. But I can imagine Checo just really applying the pressure on Max. And I hope that they do go for him and hope that they cut the politics out, but it's not likely. Another comment from Fabio and one from Hardik Rama. Hamilton's gone incognito mode off the grid, maybe. Who knows? Maybe he's tired of the memes. Fabio saying, I really hope Red Bull take him. Horner says Albon is doing better than Gasly. Okay. But he's sure he's had time to develop. Still, he's not quite there. I think in terms of the Red Bulls and the AlphaTauris, one person that was surprising this race was probably Daniel Kvyat. His performance, I was like, wow, you've brought out the bag.
Yeah, too late.
Yeah, it probably is a bit too late, isn't it? Was there anybody else you were impressed by?
If I have a little look, Lando Norris went from 19th to 10th, which I thought was quite good. Ricciardo had a reasonable performance. Ocon is probably the other standout to get his first podium. Second, I think he had just a really solid performance as much as anything. He didn't do anything outstanding, but he was just good the whole race and just had good pace and executed the strategy well. And we're just very, very solid, which is really good for him heading towards next year, because there's going to be a lot of eyes on him.
I think that was a massive confidence boost for him. I saw how happy he was, and I was like, I've never seen Ocon look so happy. And I agree with you. Going into next year, it's going to be tough for him, going up against Fernando Alonso, who's just still got it. Like, he is still going to be very quick. He's a world champion. He's going to be able to learn from him, but at the same time, I imagine that environment will be quite challenging for him. Next up, disappointing drives. I think for me, I'm going to say probably Stroll. Lance Stroll. I'm not going to go with the obvious. Give Bottas a break. Stroll, yeah. I know he got on the podium.
He came third.
But he could have won the race. How did Perez win that race coming from 18th? I know it's a different strategy.
Yeah, that's your point.
How did he win that race? Same cars. I just find it, a bit of a disappointment that Stroll isn't able to find that performance that he had during the middle of the year. What about you?
Yeah, I think it's a good one actually, because you look at Stroll and you look at the podium and you think, oh, must have been a good performance, but
You could see as
Yeah,
well. Sorry,
you raise a good point.
you could see during the interview he was actually gutted. He even said it. He said, "Yeah, I'm a little bit could have won that race." I was watching it. I was thinking, yeah, you should have won that race. To be overtaken by your teammate. Don't know. Maybe he had a fresh set of tires, but did he have a fresher set
Mm.
of tires? I can't remember.
I think he did because of the way that they pitted Perez
Mm.
after that lap and fitted new tyres. So yeah, I think there might have been a tyre advantage, but I think Checo is just better than Stroll, and I think Stroll, I think he will be an eventual race winner, and he is still very young, but he's just not there yet. He's not got that polish to his drive yet. He's not quite got that composure, and there's just that ultimate level of pace, that next level that drivers seem to be able to key into. But in terms of disappointing, yes, you've got to look at Bottas. You've got to look at Bottas. I know you want to give him a break.
You're not letting him live. Go on.
Yeah, out this guy. Like to go from pole position to eighth. Like yes, I understand that the tyre issue was, he had a very very long pit stop, and if you take that out of the equation, then who knows? But he lost the lead
Mm.
off the line, and he had the better side of the track. He then had that massive moment in turn two, and by halfway through the first lap, George had already dusted him. And then again, well, he had, and then George then extended his lead out again. Like so it's not once, it's twice. And then I think with another few laps, George would have got by him
Yeah,
at the end.
yeah, I think he
So
would have.
all of those things, I just think it's a real. I don't want to say embarrassment, but I think it was a bit of an embarrassment to Bottas, really.
Damning words there. Damning words.
The thing is, I like Bottas. I think he's very good, and on his day, he's one of the best drivers on the planet. But for me, particularly this year, there have been too many of 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 these types of events where he should be winning, or he should be at least on the podium or looking good, and he's just nowhere to be seen.
It is very. I think it is a little bit embarrassing as the senior driver. Oh, where's Adam gone? All right, gonna try and get Adam back. He should be joining. But yeah, seeing as Bottas is the senior driver, it is super embarrassing. Oh,
You just
you're
had me
back.
on hold for a second there.
Put you on hold.
Yeah, you do.
Oh, that's awkward. Um, yeah, seeing as Bottas is the senior driver, it is, yeah, super embarrassing for him. Um, he should have been able to bring out the performance, rise to the challenge, knowing that there's a rookie, not a rookie, effectively a rookie. I'm going to call him a rookie anyway. A young driver there that should be looking to him to lead the way, but we've seen it time and time again in other teams where a young drivers come in and just been on point from the very get go. Like no quarter's been given. They've just nailed it straight away, or as best as they can. They've not necessarily won, but they've done pretty good almost instantly. So I think it's very positive for George. Yeah, not so for Bottas, but he's got that protection next year. Do you think Mercedes would terminate his contract for next year
It's a big question, isn't it?
and go for George?
I think we'll see. It wouldn't obviously huge news, but I don't know if I would be that surprised considering the way that Bottas has kind of fallen apart a few times recently, and I think one of the big things is that Williams exercised that contract option to keep George for next year. So if Mercedes is serious about it, then they're going to really have to work hard with Williams. You might even see a swap.
Oof.
Well, you
No.
know what? It's possible. Do you not think?
A swap. I'm not sure. Oh, yeah. I just feel bad for Bottas. I just feel
But
so bad.
do you think it's impossible?
It's not impossible. I can imagine Mercedes potentially terminating that contract early and going for George,
Yeah.
just to give. But then again, why would they risk the disaster of what happened in 2016 again. I'm pretty sure they don't want to do that, especially when they're about to go and break that record and take it away from Schumacher. I can imagine them wanting to prioritise that over team dynamics, which will be an unknown because George will challenge Lewis. Like he may not, the consistency we're not sure about, but he's got everything. He was about to beat Bottas. He's doing better. He'll do better, I reckon. But yeah, I think we're going to call it a day there. Thank you everyone for joining us. If you are watching back on the replay, on playback, please leave a comment for me. Make sure you engage with the video, like it, subscribe if you're joining for the first time. Trying to get to 10,000 subscribers before the end of the year, so please help us out. Subscribe if you aren't already. We're also going to be doing more videos over the next few weeks, so keep an eye out for those. But that's pretty much it. Until next time, everyone. See you later.